Hey guys, TazzyPhe here. What is up? So for today's video, I have been holding off on this for a while. I really wanted to make this video like 4 months ago, but at the time, I was a little preoccupied. I asked you guys on Instagram if it was too late to make this video, and most of you guys said no, so the hit show Indian Matchmaking. Basically, for this video, I'm gonna talk about each character, like main character, and then kind of give you guys my opinion of the overall show as well. I want to start off by saying spoiler alert. If you still haven't watched it, what are you doing? Alright, so the first character, the main character, the realest of the real, SIMA auntie. Number one, this is a real person. I literally know a SIMA auntie in my own life who does matchmaking. Okay, crazy stuff. It's not hard though, so don't be messaging me asking me to hook you up. It's not gonna happen. One thing that I was a little not sure about is her credentials. So she says that she's Mumbai's top matchmaker. India is one of the most heavily populated countries on the planet. That's a big claim to make, to say like, oh, I am the top matchmaker. But right after she says that, she kind of laughs a little bit. So I'm like, is that a like legit claim, or is that like someone just putting up a sign, world's best donut, world's best YouTuber? I don't know. Now at episode 3, around 4 minutes, that is when I was like, dude, this lady is legit. Like, she uses her own prayers, her sacred prayers, she uses it for her clients. And she says it herself that this is not a career to her, okay? This is why she thinks God put her on earth. Like, this is her purpose. When I saw that, I was like, dang. Let's move on to one of the main characters who was actually one of the most hated characters, APARNA. Not even 10 minutes into the first episode, my question was, why is she here? I was confused about her role in the show because I personally felt it was pretty clear that she didn't want to get married. One of the first things that she says to her friend is, oh, you have to be around your husband all the time? That's annoying. And then she proceeds to complain about having to sit in a date for 55 minutes. And to me, those were indications like, you don't really want to settle down. Like, obviously nobody's around their partner all the time, but that's kind of like, what do you expect when you're gonna get married? Okay, I did want to point out a moment that actually made me laugh. At episode 1 at 12:19, SIMA auntie looks at the wall and she's like, oh, nice. Oh my god, is this a picture of your kittens? And that made me like LOL. She's like, no, these are my dogs. So she's definitely this character that I can see why she's hateable. But also as someone who works, and not like on a film set or anything, but I film, I edit, I, you know, write scripts. I feel like a lot of it also could have been editing, like even on some of the dates that she was going on, the awkward moments, the pauses. I feel like those are kind of edited in. I know that she came out and said something like she felt like the show just made her look bad, but from the way that the show was made, she definitely comes off as this person with like super high standards. You just can never please her. She was definitely not a favorite of people. I can see why. There's a point where the astrologer tells her that he thinks she's a nice person, so I'm like, maybe there's something there that she's maybe not as bad as she seems. But anyway, the next character is NADIA. Now she's definitely a favorite for a lot of people, and right off the bat I can see why. She has this really fun personality. She seems like an easygoing person, and she just seems genuinely nice. I think that this image of her in the show is something that's really relatable. This person exists, the person who has really good intentions and just wants to find a partner and they just can't, and nothing seems to work out. And so I feel like the show really played on that point to make the audience really like her a lot. Now she has a little thing with a guy named Vinay. So before she meets Vinay, there's a part in the show that I actually found really powerful, but I feel like both she and whoever edited the show really just ruined the moment. She has this beautiful monologue where she's talking to the camera and she's talking about how her friends have all gotten married and moved on with their lives. And she's crying as she's saying this, and she's talking about how she feels really lonely and she feels like she's stuck and she's just watching everybody's lives just move forward. I personally found this really relatable, and I don't necessarily feel like it's just about being married. Yes, part of it is that your friends start to get married and then you become alone and you feel alone because they have other commitments and their lifestyle is very different than yours, and they all of a sudden don't have time for you. You're just not a priority for them anymore, and it hurts. And I went through that for a few years, you know. I really began to feel lonely. It's really like not having friends in the same place in life as you. But I feel like they killed the moment. Right after that, she says, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm on my period. I feel like what she said was really legitimate, and that's something both guys and girls can relate to at a certain age and a certain point in your life. To just make it out to be, oh, it's just my hormones because I'm menstruating. I felt like it really did an injustice to something that she said, and I didn't like that. Next character, AKSHAY. Oh my god, this guy, man. This guy was like such a stereotype. His mom was the biggest stereotype. It was hard to watch, I'm not gonna lie. The thing about this show is I feel like it kind of exposes some things in Desi culture that are very real, and they're very, very toxic. What the show does with them doesn't really do anything with them, but you know. This is the guy who kind of doesn't really speak for himself. His mom is very hovering. There are moments where his mom is like, dude, I'm gonna die because you are not getting married. So I had mentioned that in the show, it feels like a lot of these characters are not even serious about marriage. There's just this over looming pressure to get married. Episode 6, at around 16 minutes, AKSHAY's mom literally says he's reluctant to get married. Okay, hello. It's like a lifetime commitment. It's not something that you gotta push someone into if they're reluctant. Wouldn't it be more interesting to have a show where people actually wanted to get married? Like the title Indian Matchmaking doesn't really feel like that's what the show's about. This show should be titled Indian Forcing Marriages on Kids Who Don't Want to Get Married, who aren't even kids. It feels like at least half the people in the show don't really know if they want to get married or don't want to. Like, what is this? Again, I feel like the show's playing into these like stereotypes for entertainment, and it's working because I really dislike the mom. I want to shake her when she's like, oh my god, he's 25 and he's breaking my heart because I should have been preparing for his wedding by now. Like, are you serious? Do you know what people go through with their children? Like, do you have any idea the kind of difficulties that people have in life? And like, you're crying because your child is 25 years old and he's not married yet? Like, this is just... Bro, like why? Why are Desis like that? I don't understand. I understand, but like, come on. I'm actually disgusted at this because yes, this is real. Like, okay, maybe they're exaggerating for the show, but I feel like this character of his mom is a real person. It's a real thing. It's real pressure. It's like this real depression that a community, not just your parents, a community feels for you when you're not married at a certain age. I felt it before I got married. I felt like people were looking at me. I didn't feel, I know people were looking at me with pity. I'm like, dude, I'm thriving, I'm happy. I had issues, but I was still like, come on. And I want to point out the most toxic part of it all, and that is that a parent's happiness or a community's happiness or a family's happiness is fully reliant on an individual's choice to get married or time to get married or whatever. That is so bad. That is so bad for everybody's mental health, relationships. That is toxic. All right, I don't know how to say this. PRADHYUMAN. Should be able to say this. PRADHYUMAN. So this was another character that I was straight off the bat. Why are we here? On episode 1, he literally says, I'm not sure I want to get married. Why? This is madness to me. They're paying people to pressure them even more to get married when they don't want to. What a waste of time, what a waste of money, what a waste of energy. I didn't like the vibes, man. I didn't like his vibes. I felt like he was kind of pretentious, like, you know, like I'm very artesian, like, you know. He comes off as very superficial, and maybe that again is the editing, but that's definitely the archetype we have going. So episode 4, around 35 minutes, this is when we insert, boom, the colorism in the show. SIMA has this fit for him, and she's like, yes, she's fair, slim, model, wow. Now we all know colorism exists. We all know about that Fair and Lovely. I think they say that on the first episode too. Just disgusting, trash. But I'm not gonna sit here and just be like, oh my god, that's so bad, like I can't believe it. I feel like us pretending that it doesn't exist and that we're shocked at it is worse than, you know, acknowledging that, yeah, that's a deep problem. So what was confusing though in this scene is that SIMA right before is like, oh, he was so fickle-minded and then he changed, you know, I can see he's changing, he's ready to compromise. And then bam, she puts, you know, this supermodel in front of him, and I don't understand, where's the compromise there? Where is the teaching him a lesson about humility here? All right, so the character ANKITA, I I feel like this character got the short end of the stick in the whole show. They introduce her, they're like, oh, she's a modern woman, she's successful, blah, 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 but she wants to get married. So, time to be equal. Can women have it all? That's the big question. Now, when they do introduce her character, she does talk about how her friends never liked her exes and she has this problem with trying to fix people. Red flag. You can't fix anybody. People change for themselves. So the thing about her story that was really just like, ugh, okay. So SIMA auntie is like, you know what? I don't know how to help you because my clients are like backwards, so I'm gonna refer you to somebody else. Then she refers her to someone else that you think is more progressive and like has maybe more open mind. But when she talks to her for the first time, she's literally like, yeah, you're gonna have to move wherever the man goes. Sorry. Like, I moved. Big whoop. And I just felt like it was weird. Even ANKITA says it. She's like, I thought this matchmaker was supposed to be different. And I find this interesting about the show, this idea of compromise. Okay, what does compromise mean for different characters? Personally, sometimes when I look at somebody who's like, oh, they have to be 6'2", even though I'm like 5'1", that's unreasonable. I think what frustrated me is you had people in the show who really want to get married, like ANKITA. And then those are the people who face the most like, oh, well, you're from this area of the world, so it's not gonna work. Oh, you want a career, so, you know, you're gonna have to do this. And the people who are not even that interested in getting married are the people who are getting all these different matches who should meet their standards, but, you know, they're too picky. So I feel like she was done dirty. I do. So the last character that I'm going to talk about is Rupam. First off, I saw that she's from Denver, Colorado, and I was like, hey, same neighborhood, not anymore. Episode 7, she also talks about compromise. She's like, oh, I'm divorced, I have a kid, so I know that I have to compromise, which I don't think it's fair, but I think that's a reality for a lot of people who are divorced or have a child or both. I'm glad that they kind of showed her story in this show because I think that's also an important discussion to have about why are people with children or divorcees treated as such. I think especially in Desi culture, people like that are seen as like tainted, when in actuality, I feel like somebody who's gone through a marriage before and or already has a child, they may be more successful the second time around because they have more experience than someone who's never been married. In this episode, you see another version of the overarching parental figure. Her dad is sitting at the table as they're looking at prospects, and he's definitely like, you know, got his arms crossed. I don't know if his arms are crossed, but from a metaphorical perspective, yeah, like he's asking a lot of questions, you know, doing like a full background check for his daughter. And I found this part interesting because I feel like this is also a real thing in Desi culture. The dad who is really protective of his daughter. I think that the lines between love of your children and wanting to protect them and being controlling and not letting them make their own decisions or trusting them to make their own decisions, that's a line that's really blurred. I think that her dad is not like a unique exception, but I feel like with her in particular, like she's been through a divorce, she has a child, I think she can make her own decision. But at the same time, I will say, like, compared to AKSHAY's mom, you would say, okay, he's just expressing his opinions. He's not necessarily taking control of the situation, or I really think AKSHAY's mom is just on another level. Okay, there was a part in the scene that I thought was hilarious when the dad is pushing SIMA auntie to get some information about the potential match. He keeps pushing and she's like, oh, saab, bus, okay, I'm not telling you anymore. That was his past life. Your daughter was divorced too. Bus. And the dad is like, no, tell me, was his previous wife American or Indian? She tells him that she was American and he's like, aha, I knew it. He touched the whites and he's divorced. Double tainted. Double tainted. I feel like in Desi culture, like one of the scariest things for a parent is when their child wants to marry a white person. Well, there are other scarier things too. When they don't want to marry a white person, but they want to marry someone out of their religion, or if they're 25 and they're not married yet. That's another. So that's that character. Oh, I didn't talk about him. Okay, so I forgot to talk about VYASAR. I'm so sorry. I love this character. He was so lovable. I don't have much to say about him though. I feel like they focused more on his dad's story of him like killing one of his ex-wives rather than talking more about how his search for a wife was gonna end, which I get, that's probably a big thing to be sharing with people and something you're scared to share when you're trying to get married or whatever it may be, but he was definitely a lovable character. I really liked him, A1, and I really hope that he finds the love of his life. There was so much hype around the show that I thought it was like really just like well made, and although the production quality and all that was good and they hook you in, I feel like they didn't do a good job of tying up stories. I didn't feel like they did a good job of continuing characters. It's just like sometimes characters just kind of disappeared. I just really didn't like how at the end they kind of introduced some new characters, but it was like for half a second, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that? Just wait till the next season to introduce a character if that's what you're trying to do. It just felt messy and I didn't like it. But yeah, I felt like the show didn't really have a conclusion. And then the other thing that was annoying is that none of the couples worked out, which I think goes back to the whole thing about why are we having people on the show who don't want to get married, because isn't the show about Indian matchmaking? Like, we want to see some success. But yeah, that's my review of Indian matchmaking. It took me forever to watch. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys like videos like this, let me know. The podcast also is officially live. We have the links in the description. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it, it's all down there. You just maybe have to do a little bit of digging. Yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the show down in the comments below. Have a good one, okay? Take care now, you heard? Okay, TazzyPhe out. Bye!